Hey guys, welcome to 10 Minute English with May. And today we're looking at another writing and language passage from our 2017 test. So the title is A Lion's Share of Luck. Sometimes you might get these very ambiguous title, right? So until you read your introduction, you probably wouldn't know what it means. So let's take a look. It's the beginning of February, and as they do every year, thousands of people line each street, the heart of Chinatown, Washington. The crowd has gathered to celebrate Lunar New Year. The street is a sea of red, and red is the traditional Chinese color of luck and happiness. So, do you see how for question 12, combining sentences, we want to choose A because we want to avoid redundancy. Both B, C, and D, they have repetition of nouns and pronouns. So this is by far the most effective way of combining sentences because we have a subject verb plus a trailing phrase, in this case, and a positive phrase at the end. So builders are draped with festive red banners and garlands. So right away we see the end, but the end is joining banners and garlands. We never ever use punctuation between compound noun or compound subject verb when they're just two words, right? Bob and Jane, you and me, no punctuation. So by process of elimination, I can kind of cross out A, B, and C, and that leaves D, right? And as we know, with festive red banners, that is a prepositional phrase, and we almost never use any punctuation with prepositional phrase. Okay, and some of you might be wondering, well, shouldn't there be a comma between red and festive? No, because in this case, festive and red, they are not interchangeable, meaning that there are certain orders of adjectives that you need to follow. For example, when you say a round wooden table, the shape has to come before the material. Okay, so if you don't remember the order of your adjectives, please go back and review the part of speech adjective lesson. Okay, so I can kind of start seeing the pattern here, right? So a lion's share of luck, this is talking about Chinese New Year, the lion dance. And I see that at the end of our first paragraph, that is our topic. Okay, so moving on. Experts agree that lion dance originated in Han Dynasty. However, so controversy or debate, there is little agreement about the dance's original purpose. So some suggest earliest version of dance was an attempt to ward off an evil spirit. Another theory is that an emperor, upon waking from a dream about a lion, hired an artist to choreograph the dance. So now for 14, which can complete the explanation of a possible origin. So if we take a look at the first one, right? Let's take a look. Ward off an evil spirit. Another is about an emperor's dream. So A can be crossed out because talking about lions being fierce. No, not origin. Evil spirit Conan or Nian, sorry, Nian, not origin. Precise location remains lost. That's more like archaeology. No, right? So C, the reason why or the purpose. So do you see how all these examples, they're supporting this word, original purpose? And that is why it's very important for you to notice how paragraphs are organized in funnel shape. By funnel shape, I mean they're usually going from something that is general to something that is more specific. So if you want to know which detail to choose, go back to the general statement, and then you will have a better idea. All right, number 15. Which most effectively concludes the paragraph? Well, since we're talking about the different origins and how people do not agree, we need to have the origins. right? So we know that A is wrong, right? And B is always wrong because if it's irrelevant or people are indifferent, why bother discussing this topic? And D does not have our topic, so we can isolate C, right? The lion dance requires strength, grace, and coordination of two dancers. So whenever you see relative pronoun, if you remember who, whom, whose, which that, treat it like punctuation question, meaning you have to read from beginning to end and find your clauses. So our lion dance requires, and we have a complete sentence, right? And followed by a list, strength, grace, and coordination, cross out of two dancers, prepositional phrase. So whatever we do, we need to make sure it is dependent. And since we're modifying people, we need to use both of whom, right? Because C and D, they would both create comma splice. All right, and number 17, I'm going to start skipping. Many of the moves in the dance, such as jumps, rolls, and kicks, are similar to. Whenever you see similar word or comparison word, you need to make sure there is logical comparison. So what are you comparing here? You are actually comparing the moves, right? Many of the moves in the dance. So moves have to be compared with moves, and that is why we can cross out A, because that's not comparing moves. B is comparing moves to disciplines. C is illogical as well. So only D, those, that is referring to the moves. So you might be wondering, what is the difference between those and that? That of is singular, those of would be plural. And why do we use those in this case? Because our parallel structure preposition in and in. Okay, and that is logical comparison. Moving on to 18, which provides information that is most consistent in style and content with the information about the symbolism of tortoise. Well, since we know there are symbolisms here, phoenix is a mythical bird, then tortoise would be what? For longevity. Okay, so then we need to make sure our phoenix has the same thing. And we can look at the parallel structure, right? Mythical bird is not a symbolism. It is what it actually is. So what does phoenix represent? Well, it represents a new beginning, right? They turn to ash and they're reborn as new birds. So that's why it is B, parallel in style and parallel in symbolism. For 19, where do we put sentence 5? Their older counterparts. So who is there referring to? We need to find the pronouns antecedent. So their older counterparts, yellow and white lions, dance more slowly and deliberately. So we know that we're looking at the younger lions before that can dance very fast. So do you see how in line 7, black lions are youngest and dance quickly? This is a direct juxtaposition. So we need to make sure the older ones come after line 7. So the answer would be D. Okay, so pay attention to the pronouns like their older counterparts. Who's the they? The they is the black lions. Okay, and number 20 is just pronoun agreement. If we take a look here, the music crescendos and the lion dance reaches the dance's climax. So possessive, remember the one with apostrophe is it is or it has, right? So that is not possessive adjective. And for number 21, approaching a doorway in which dangle. So do you see how I have a comma followed by underline? You the first thing you do is check to see if you have a phrase or a clause before the comma. In this case, we have a phrase. So if you don't remember, please go back and review your phrases and clauses and modifiers, because this is a dangling modifier question. Who or what would be approaching a doorway? That would be your subject, and only the lion could be approaching the doorway. Okay, and number 22, it then chews the bills and spits out the money-filled envelope. Do you see how before it already says the envelope is filled with green paper and money? So this is wordiness and redundancy. And usually for this, the shortest, the one without the repetition, is your answer. And that is it for today's lesson. See you. Bye-bye.